Alright, so this is going to be the tutorial on how to do the blending or the gradation for. It's going to be mainly for the sphere and the cylinder. Okay, so the next layer that you want to work with, you have your background layer and you have your cube, or you could all done it all in one layer. That's fine too. Next layer you want to move on to is the sphere. Okay, so yeah, same thing with the sphere. You want to look at the values that you're using. So you got the white, you got a gray, and then you got the dark gray here. So I'm going to be mainly using the light gray first. So again, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. I'm going to highlight the gray. Obviously my light gray disappeared, it's part of the picture, but that's fine too. So I'm just going to color the whole thing gray. Alright, and yeah, do take your time, make sure to color between the lines. Oh, in this case it might be better if I do it the other gray. So I'm going to do the dark gray. And the reason behind that is because, you want to make sure that you color it perfectly. Because if you mess up down here, it's going to show up later. And you don't want that to happen. But if you mess up a little bit, like let's just say I colored too much up on the top, just make sure you use the eraser, and you might need to resize the eraser, as it is a different size than your regular brush, and just fix that. All right, but you're just gonna color the sphere one color. Now, what I want you to do now is I'm just clicking the eyeball just to show you where the sphere is on the layers window. Okay, once you color we'll call this like the base color of your sphere. You want to click on this checkered button up here next to where it says lock, and it's going to create a lock on your sphere. All right. Unlike the lock in the Illustrator, this lock's going to you can still work in that area. I mean, there is a lock where it won't allow you to work in that area, but you don't need to really do it for Photoshop because not everything is connected all into one layer. They're all going to be separate layers when you're working. So that's one big difference between the Illustrator and the Photoshop is, if I clicked on this background, it would highlight that background layer. It won't do that in Photoshop. It's always going to stay in that one layer that you're working. Alright, so you want to click on the checkerboard and the lock, and basically what this lock does is I'm going to change it to this. I don't really need swatches up anymore. I'm going to change it to this black, but if you notice, like no matter what I color, it's only going to color in that one area that I colored in. Okay, so that's going to make things a lot easier when you do your do the blending part. Alright, so that's a big reason why I want you to use the lock button. We'll call it the lock button. I'm not sure what the name of this is. We'll call it the checkered lock button. Alright, that's kind of like a reason why I want you to use that lock button. So I'm going to change this back to that gray again. Change it to that middle gray. So no matter what, it's always going to stay in that sphere because of that lock button that I put on. Now, I just wanted to just lay down the colors that I need to, do the blending. So I got, my whitest white over here. I got my lightest gray. That's going to come up next. All right. And then I got my I had to click on that to fix it. And I got my darkest gray like in the middle here. So, and this looks almost like that. Alright, so we have the white, the light gray, the dark gray, and then the medium gray. If you notice, what's happening is there's going to be a highlight here, shadow's going to be here, and then there's a cast shadow that's popping up on the edge. But basically, if you're kind of wondering why this is lighter over here, what's happening is the light from this cube here, it's reflecting off of that cube or this part of the sphere here, the light's being reflected from the white end of this cube. Alright, so after you're done with that, now we're going to have to blend in the colors. So the next thing you're going to do is I want you to change your brush. So you want to change your brush to one where it's a fuzzy edge. So, this one's a good one, the fuzzy edge. And you want to change the opacity to 30. Alright, so opacity, what that does is it's going to, the opacity is going to make your colors more transparent. So, I'm going to make a mark right here. If you notice, I'm using this dark gray here, but if you look at it, it's the same dark gray, but, the more marks that I make, the closer it's going to get to that gray. So it's only doing like a little bit of that color at a time. It's only doing 30% of that color at a time. So this is going to allow you to blend the colors a little bit more easily. So I'm going to change this to white. And again, I have to, do a couple of marks to make it all white again. Alright, and then I would resize the brush. So I'm going to double click on the brush again to resize it. And I'm just using those bracket keys to resize it. So again, the bracket keys, let's do a quick review on that. Here, one of those bracket keys they look like this. Yeah, those are the bracket keys on your keyboard. They're gonna help to resize your brush when you need it. I'm just gonna leave that there on a separate layer. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my sphere layer. So make sure you work on the correct layer, because if you're not working on the correct layer, it's going to be a mess. Alright, so I'm going to use the eyedrop tool, go on the white, and I'm just going to blend the edges a little bit more. So I'm using a decent sized brush, and usually you want to work with a brush that's a little bit bigger than what you expect. So I'm going to click on the gray again. I'm going to just go over it with gray. So you're gonna have to kind of just like blend the colors together. So this light gray, I'm gonna go over the edge of the dark gray here. Alright, and then I might go over this gray here again. So I'm using the eyedrop tool and I'm just blending it in. Alright. So I'm gonna get rid of that cash out for now, just so I can get this blending correctly. So I'm just going over it again using the eyedrop tool. So I'm just picking out the colors that are next to each other and just blending it in to get it the way that I look. Now if I need to create that cast shadow, I'm going to click this gray. This gray is very similar to this gray over here, so I'm just going to just do it on the edges just a little bit, just to get that nice cast shadow. Alright, but you're gonna have to go like over it again and again to get the shadows the way that you want. Almost the same way as regular painting. You kind of have to just keep making those marks until you get the desired look that you want. Alright, so I think this is pretty good. I'll go over it a couple of times. Okay, so that's pretty good. I might actually get a little bit darker on the edges. Okay. Alright, but you kind of get the idea though. Just want to go darker on the edges with the gray. Now I'm going to go back to the hard edge brush, and I just want to finish this shadow that I made on here. I'm going to use the and then you got to change this back to 100 because I'm going to be using the solid color brush. Oh, you know what? Okay, so after you're done with the sphere, so pretty much I'm done with my sphere, at least how I want it to look. Obviously I'm going to go back and refine it more. Then I'm going to create a new layer on the bottom. I'm going to title this cast shadow. And you know, I'm just gonna draw. I'm gonna put this below the sphere. I'm gonna just you know, I drop the shadow here because I want it to be the same value. I'm just gonna color in that area. Now, if you notice, since it's on the bottom layer, it's going behind the sphere. Okay, these are like little things you can do to make make your drawing a lot more easier. Alright, so that's the cast shadow. Actually, I'm going to use the eraser for that. So I'm just using the eraser to clean the edges. And I'm going to create the other cast shadow for the other end. So this is going to go over here. And it's not going behind the cube, so you know what I could do with this one? I could put this cast shadow behind the cube. Just drag it behind it. Now I don't have to worry about it, getting in the front. Alright, so I'm going to draw the cast shadow here. I'm going to use the eraser, clean it up a little bit more. Now if you notice, when I'm using the eraser, it's only erasing the cast shadow part, but since everything's on a separate layer, it's not going to erase the other parts of your drawing. Alright, and then, next thing you do is you move on to your cylinder, same thing you did before. I'm going to eyedrop the light gray, color the whole thing gray. Alright, I'm going to color the whole thing gray. So the majority of it is light gray. I got to use the eraser a little bit on the edge right there. Yeah, majority is light gray. Then you use the lock again, the checkered board. You go with the white. This time change your brush to the fuzzy edge, change this to 30. You can do it around 30, it doesn't have to be exactly 30. I'm going to resize the brush. And if you don't want to lay those solid colors right away, you can just do the blending right away. So this is going to be that white. The white over here. So I want to blend this a little bit more. And then I want to use the middle gray. So I'm going to eyedrop the middle gray. I'm doing middle gray over here. Alright, but that's, pretty much all you're doing. I don't have to worry about getting on that cube or anything. So, okay.